going to call this meeting to order, or at least we're going to start talking. And it's kind of a, as the host, the first thing we want to do is to ask our assistant principal and our principal, Teresa Murray and Principal Burke, if you guys would want to say something.
Sure, we can say something. Would you like to? Well, we'd like to welcome you here to Brookhaven. Some of you have been here before. Some of you, it's your first time, so we took you on a little tour. Hope you enjoyed it. We like our new school. We think it's just wonderful. We have so much more space. We have a facility that's so much safer for children because if you were familiar with the school before, we had 3 separate buildings and the children would have to go out in the weather, to go to different buildings, and that wasn't good and it wasn't safe. So we're happy we're all under the same roof, and it's just a great place to be. We love it. The children love it. The teachers do. So we're glad you came, and feel free to come again. We're going to have a Read to Me Day coming up for American Education Week. And if you'd like to read to one of our classes, I'm sure we would be happy to have you. So thank you for coming.
When we asked the children what their favorite part of the new building is, it seems like the water fountain is the best thing ever. They feel like it's very exclusive to them because it's not in the rest of the building. And so I took my glass to fill up the other day, and I filled it up at the old water fountain. And one of the little boys said, "You should go up in our area. You don't have to tilt or anything. You just put it under there and it fills it up." So what I have to say is the children are really very conscious about the new school. They love it. They have a lot of pride and the teachers have a lot of pride in our new school. And we just want to say thank you to the board, to Dr. Devano, and everyone that helped get us to where we are. We're very proud of it. So thank you very much.
Ron, if I can just have a minute.
Oh, you can.
Money for the playground.
Oh, yes.
You said a large area. We brought several properties around. Both these buildings were silly stringed about a week ago.
No, actually, it was yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah, they met
Just-
your goals, so we got sprayed with silly string.
Over $7,500
Over
in
$7,000.
our
The children.
Wow.
The children.
wonderful. For our playground.
Wow.
So that's how much they want that.
So it shows you how these ladies are real dedicated.
Yeah, because Cindy, I got it right in the ear. So
I covered my face like this. I had a hat on.
originally it was planned for today, but we
Yeah.
knew we couldn't come
had-
and
yes.
present ourselves to you.
Because we were kind of
all
a mess.
strung out there, so to say. So we had them change that, so.
So we
Can you
did-
touch on this room for a minute?
Well,
About what the uses and...
the library, well, this is our media center. It's our media center. We hope to have this space over here. We don't have it yet, but we hope to have this as a maker space because that was in the original plan. And so I talked to Mrs. Tipton. She's our media specialist, and we're going to work on that. But we have not all new furniture, but all the bookshelves are new. And we have this soft seating that Mrs. Murray and I and the librarian picked out. I guess it's very modern. It's very different, very kid-friendly. So we have that. That's been pretty popular.
Explain makerspace.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
Well, Miss Murray probably could explain that more because she's the kind of math science person.
Well, in the age of engineering and technology, it's really just a space that has different types of materials and in a certain area, and allows the students to just go and create and make things out of just different types of materials. And one exciting place it would be here, because then we start talking about a new concept is the outdoors classroom, and our art room is here, and our media center is here. How neat would it be to have an outdoor classroom right here with our makerspace? We are hoping that the area here was supposed to be that makerspace. I know that our school that our students go to, South, they also have rooms that are just makerspace classrooms. And the students would just come in, they would be directed, and today you're going to build. Today these are the materials that you have, go at it. And so we're hoping that that's on down the road just a little bit.
And then in this space right here in front of you, we have this, it's in the box over there, but it's an interactive TV, I believe. But that hasn't been installed yet, but that would be something that I'm thinking the children can actually go up and touch and manipulate. So that's something we're looking forward to also.
And this area is kind of like, it could be like its own little classroom.
Yeah.
We're almost one-to-one school, almost one-to-one county. We have second, third, fourth, and fifth grade with their Chromebooks. And so this area was kind of intended for that. And then this area more for casual type reading, where they can get up on and just, instead of sitting in a desk and reading, they could kind of relax a little bit. And because we want to instill that love of reading for them. So
They love it. You come in, you're comfy, cozy. And this little piece over there against the wall, I really didn't like it so much when we saw it, because I saw in the picture it looked like kids were jumping up on and stuff, and I thought, oh no. But the kids, they get books and they just sit there and they're all comfortable. Several of them will be on that. And this, we love this. We love this little area right here.
and they're reading in this area too.
Yeah, they do. They can read on wherever they want.
Really, it's not just where you have to come in and be really, really quiet and sit here and don't make a sound. It's pretty quiet, but yet they feel very comfortable.
They feel
They love it. It's something brand new to them, and they take a lot of pride in it. So,
Yeah, the reason I asked that was the way we used to learn and the way classrooms are set up. It's changing. It's literally changing, and every new school is incorporating with the engineers, the architects, and the staff at the school. We're just letting them create their own space. And how do you want to teach kids, and what do you know? I mean, and this is new education. So that's why I wanted you to touch on that. I was going to try, but I thought, you know what, we got experts here. So
We're experts.
anyhow.
We're kind of learning. This new makerspace is kind of a new concept to me too. And I'm old school, but I'm willing to try all this new stuff, like I went for this little cozy, comfy area. If they want to put their feet on it, they can put their feet on it.
Yep. Don't just keep changing with the kids.
Yeah, you have to,
So,
that's right.
all right. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Okay. Well, now I get to brag about the whole county as I brag about the school system and the things that are going on in the school system. It was one of those things where, the only reason this county's growing is because the university's doing good, the county commission is doing their job, the municipality's doing their job, and it's this community's exciting at this point. So, with that said, the reason I'm saying that is this in the last 5 years we've grown 1,151 students in the schools. So I'm not sure exactly how many kids come to this school. How many do you have here?
About 565.
So you'd have to build this school twice every 5 years to accommodate the increase in the student enrollment. So if you think about it, and the challenges we have, every 2.5 years we got to build a facility equal to this facility. So that's our challenge that we have. But at this point we have 11,610 students in Mon County schools. Some construction updates. Let me make sure I'm going this. Suncrest Elementary School is pretty much finished. We're doing some touch-up stuff. I believe all that stuff's pretty much outside, and some maintenance things we're doing. Community was kind enough to sell us the property, which enabled us to utilize the space and have plenty of room for parking and playgrounds. That's here. That's what we touched on earlier, was that the Brookhaven community, as they started seeing we needed space, the local neighborhood come together, and they were looking to move on, or they were looking to move somewhere else, so they gave us an option to buy their property. So we bought a lot more properties back this way because we were really getting pinched in this neighborhood. We're working MHS, HVAC. We're doing an HVAC upgrade. And if you guys know, the kids called the room that we're talking about, they called it hell. That was the kid's name for the room because it was so hot in the summertime in this area. And they said it was just unusable. This was from the kids. This wasn't from us. But and I heard that, and I was like, well, we fixed that in the last 2 years. So we did an upgrade on the one wing of the MHS. And the HVAC's almost complete. Mountain View and M-Tech, we're working currently. We're working trying to get the designs out and get bids out for HVAC upgrades in both those facilities. We're working currently at South. We're adding 7 classrooms. And like I said, with 200 some students every year average over the last 5 years, classrooms are important. Two classrooms we're adding outside. We're actually taking space within the building and taking some space that wasn't being used and turning that into classrooms. Okay, we have an SBA proposal, which is C. We're asking the SBA for money to add classrooms to Morgantown High School, kind of in the same area we're talking about. We've actually, by moving boilers out, and I'm right about where we're at, there was some huge boilers, 50s, 60s boilers, and we actually moved all that stuff out and actually gave us space within the high school that we're going to add within the high school without having to expand. And then there's some other issues we need to take care of over there as far as safety and security, so we're going to take care of them. QZAP funding, which is D. I'm trying to go through these quick, but touch on everything. QZAP funding, it's quality zone academy bonds, which Clear Mountain Bank is giving us the money, and I'm going to explain how these work. And when I first was explained how these work, I was like, well, let's go back. I didn't understand it very well. We get a loan for $1.5 million. So we'll pay back that loan, and as we pay that loan, we're going to pay $60,000 this year and $60,000 next year. This goes into an interest-bearing account. So we get interest on that money every year. 10 years will be 2/3 paid off. This money will be sitting in an account collecting interest. And then at the end of that time, we pay back the $1.5 million minus the interest that's accrued. So we actually pay back less than what we borrowed in 15 years. So it's really, I was like, wow, that's really a good option for the school system. Huh?
Right off for the bank.
It's a federal program. So, yeah, no, the bank actually makes interest too,
Yeah.
which is weird. Yeah, they make money, we save money, and it's picked up by the federal government. Okay, and with that said, I guess that's it for the school system. And we're moving to E, which is the relocation of the downtown Mountain Line Transit Terminal. Who's
That's me.
going to speak to that?
Yeah.
Paul?
Yeah. Okay.
Just in time. Let me jump in.
Yeah. So I got to be in camera view here. So good evening, everyone. Paul Brake, Morgantown City Manager. I guess I was invited to speak about this issue. You know, I really want to take a much broader view that the relocation of the bus system it's pretty straightforward. But really, what the city's intent is, we're looking at revitalizing the waterfront area in the Wharf District, and so we have the amphitheater that received increased use over this past summer of performances and musical entertainment, and of course that's a very busy area in general. A lot of groups use that for whether it be 5K races or other community events and things like that. So it's a vibrant part of the community. At the same time, there's been a group that's been formed. It's called the Mon River Task Force, and we've been looking at a number of activities and really better utilizing the river, whether it be with non-motorized water sports of kayaking, paddle boards. In fact, we had Meet the Mon. It was approximately about a month ago, and had a tremendous turnout, and Mayor Bill Kowecki was out there, and he was putting kayaks in the water and taking them out. So there's a great interest and a connection with the water. Along with that is that the council has had dialogue with a private boat operator that's looking at bringing a large passenger vessel here called the Mountaineer Star, and would like to provide leisure cruises, possibly dinner cruises. And so this is kind of morphed over time, that have taken a look at the Hazel Ruby McQueen Amphitheater and Riverfront Park. In fact, it was about a year ago that Bow Park commissioned the study through Brailsford and Dunlavey. It's a consulting firm, I think, out of Atlanta, that took a deep dive and to look at the particular elements of the amphitheater, what is needed there, and the surrounding Riverfront Park. And they came up with a number of recommendations, and that's what precipitated all of that. So we have compiled and submitted a grant for $4.1 million to the Hazel Ruby McQueen Foundation. We remain optimistic that will be funded. And if it is, it will take about 2 years to construct the proposed activities, which includes really 3 different elements. So really revamping the amphitheater, which it's a tired facility. If any of you have gone down there, it's very nice, but to improve the seating, lighting, sound, perhaps have a larger stage, have an improved bathroom system, So, and then we're also looking at a retractable type of shade that would cover concert goers going out there. So, in the riverfront park that we're looking at improvements to the depot. Of course, there's been some investments that have been made through the transit system, but still the facility needs updating. So, going along with kind of that theme of promoting community gathering places, we're also looking at the prospect of one of the parking lot areas doing kind of a mini version of the Farmers Market Pavilion. So if any of you travel down at City Hall, kind of kitty corner for us on Spruce and Fayette, there's this beautiful structure, and we're looking at a smaller version of that. So again, it just makes it more of a 3 or 4 season type of community space that we can use along the way. And then I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the Walnut Street Landing, which is contiguous to all of this. So that's the proposed area, the dock and passenger loading and unloading to get in this large passenger vehicle or passenger vessel. And we would like to have a suitable boat launch area for kayaks and paddle boards. Right now, if you go down there, you're scraping your knees on the cement where the pavement ends into the river. So what does that mean to the buses? So circling around what's prompted this discussion here, the bus system has been operating, from what I understand, for about approximately 20 years. And it came out of when there used to be a county and a city bus system that was merged into one, and I believe there was only 5 buses, and this thing is really morphed. So there's 12 different bus routes that all converge at certain times, and I can tell you there's pretty heavy congestion. So, and I can tell you from a personal perspective. So, of course, I'm relatively new to Morgantown, but the very first place, I no longer reside there, but I used to live at this condo building that's right next to the depot. It's called View at the Park. And so it was rather interesting coming home from work and finding 3 rows of buses and to get into the condo building. So it's outlived its purpose as an adequate facility. But kind of the counter view is that we have to be very careful about is that not that long ago that the voters did approve funding for the bus system. It provides transportation for individuals that either choose not to have a vehicle or do not have the financial means. So there's a certain population that's vulnerable that we, as good stewards of public money, need to protect. And I guess the concern that's been expressed, and rightfully so, is that we do not cause harm to the bus system that makes it difficult for people to access transportation services. So we need to maintain that service, allow individuals access to public services that they would go to, whether it be health rights or some other, social service sort of agencies, and kind of respecting the dignity and quality of life that we provide for our residents here in Mon County. So I've had conversations. I was at the Mountain Lion Board meeting 2 weeks ago, and this was following going to the City Council authorization. There is a lease that's up. There's a little bit of confusion whether or not it's already expired or about to expire, but regardless, it was to formally engage the conversation with the Mountain Lion Board. Not a matter of please move your buses out and good luck with that, but rather let's talk about this, let's come up with a good community solution. So the message that I brought was that the city's causing this problem and we need to be part of the solution. So we have been working with them, and we'll be convening kind of in-house sort of study task force group. And so earlier today, I had the fortune, I was invited to meet with the county commissioners, and they asked very thoughtful, very good questions about this, and they have a concern of what the exposure is, that if subsequent funding is not renewed by the voters, then what their burden is to provide transportation services. So really, in the final analysis, the hope is that we can even improve the system, that we can provide better access, perhaps multimodal type of facility. One of the other concerns that was expressed by David Bruffy, the executive director of Mountain Line, he told me, he says, Paul, I don't want to move twice. And I don't blame him. Because it's hard enough with the riders if we're over here, now we're over there, and, that becomes confusing and would cause individuals that perhaps that are already disenfranchised to give up on the system. And so we do not need that. And so I think having that continuity of service and close proximity, the hope is, because really the downtown services, it's critical to have transportation there. At the same time, we're talking about looking at changing the look of downtown. In that, what I mean is that for individuals that would like to live in the downtown area, and I don't mean this of students, but rather of people that want to live in a downtown urban environment, again, we should provide transportation if there's people that choose not to own a car. And so there's many reasons why we need to retain the bus service within the downtown area. So I think we're going about this very carefully. And I think if we have a measured plan, that if the funding comes together, if not, regardless, we needed to come up with a solution, because I think everyone around the table agrees that the location where the buses are at right now, it's not a suitable arrangement. It's not the best arrangement for the riders. So this won't be a quick process. It'll probably be a temporary looking location, because oftentimes to make improvements for bus type of station involves federal funding. And so unfortunately, the federal government doesn't move that quickly, and so I don't think there's any stimulus dollars, that they're just waiting to give us a $5 million check to build some beautiful multimodal facility. But yet, I think if we have a suitable location, maybe a temporary type of station for ticket sales and to get the riders out of the elements and alike, then build something that's more of a permanent facility. So that's kind of the essence what this is all about. It's probably longer than your agenda items that you covered there, but to give you kind of the full background of what this is about, and I see this as a dialogue where we come up with a good solution. And so again, I'm hoping 5 years from now when we look back and we say, you know what, that was a really smart move, because it provide even greater access to transportation services, better coordination, perhaps better arrangements even with multimodal, perhaps closer to the PRT. We have some awesome transportation systems, and so we need to leverage those resources in the community. So, I look to the future. I'm naturally an optimist. I'm very excited about this. I know there's some caution, and I get it. I've also been in this business for a long time, so I've also had some situations where things haven't turned out quite the way I'd hoped. But I think we have many knowledgeable people that work professionally in transportation, understand the community needs and alike, and it's a matter of kind of collecting that information and really coming up with a good collective solution. So I don't know if there's anything I glossed over, or Mayor, or anything you'd care to add.
I think the only thing first of all, thank you, well expressed.
Yeah.
What our city manager has said is pretty much what you can count on from council, and I think that would be agreed to. Jenny's here to testify also. We're not looking to cause problems for the community, but we are looking for cooperative solutions, and we hope to be a good partner in the community. This is something we believe in. This is something we believe is to the benefit of Morgantown and the surrounding area. And you heard the approach. I think the approach is as reasonable as it could possibly be. This facility was never meant as permanent. You can remember way back when Ron was still mayor, that we were looking to put this facility downtown at Daniel's parking lot. And David Bruffy and Tom Arnold were talking about the possibility of an intermodal transportation system, and went after federal grants to get it, but missed. So, I mean, this has always been on the horizon. This is not something new. It's just something now that's come to a head. We have an opportunity with our riverfront. We need to pursue that. This needs to happen for us, and we're hoping that we can all cooperate in making it something better for the community.
Is it the intention of the city to maintain the railroad station,
I'm sorry, say it again.
the old railroad station?
It is. So part of the proposal that we put is it's mainly interior renovations to the building, and so preserve the historical character of that structure, and so really changing the use to perhaps maybe even leasing out a portion. Say, for instance, was talking about kayak rentals, something like that.
Also a support facility for whatever happens down there at the pavilion or
Right.
downtown. I mean,
Ticketing.
that could be ticket sales.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
there are any numbers of possible things there. And if we do put up that structure over the parking lot, excuse me, it doesn't make it very advantageous for buses. So, but it does give us a place that we can have things like crafts fairs and community get-togethers, as well as maintain the parking. It is a good use of the property.
Mayor, if you take that lot for parking, as you described, what are you all going to do to accommodate parking? Because that's really limited anyway in that area.
Oh,
Are you looking
that
for
would
bus
still be
garage?
parking.
Pardon me?
It would still be parking similar to the parking structure that is the Morgantown Marketplace. It wouldn't have that high of a roof line, but it would still be parking.
If you create the water frontage you're describing, you're going to end up with people there.
We have a parking garage that's just right across that bridge. I mean,
exactly.
Close.
Yeah, you could throw a
And so
stone at it.
empty.
Sure. Then how about security? Any ideas or thoughts in relationship to that?
Well, here's a couple ideas on that regard. The one thing is that if you have a greater number of people that are down in the area, is that bad element, it tends to kind of force that out. At the same time, our police department has made more of a concerted effort, again, living down at the View over the summer. I've spent a lot of time on the rail trail system there, and so I've spotted a lot of our officers and undercover, and so I'm not going to be misleading. There is activity that's less than desirable there right now. There's drug deals, and so there's attempted murders, and so there's some pretty serious activities, and so that's something that we're going to have to be very attentive to. And so I think lighting is another element that's part of that. And so that's in the funder, we're very much attuned to that, because we want an atmosphere that people will feel safe, and if they feel safe, they will return. And so that part is very important.
We currently have a grant from the state again to go after additional lighting that will give you an access under the bridge on Foundry, get you down through there safely. Thrasher's doing it. Part of that consideration was to extend that lighting as monies are available further on to the rails to trail. We are aware of that, and our police chief is very good about keeping track of where problem areas are and responding to that kind of activity. Yeah, certainly we'll take that into consideration, but this is a good problem. I mean, it's a problem you want to have, and Paul's perfectly right. The more people you have in that area, the safer it is, the more it's used, the more welcoming it will be, the more economic value it will create, plus it's a service just for the community. It's something that the community deserves to have, a park, a place that they could go to and feel comfortable in.
They've also added, the city has added, and I don't know if you mentioned that, but it's added more trail parking behind the funeral home, kind of near Sheets, but
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
along the Deckers Creek Trail. Was that mentioned? I don't know if
No.
that was mentioned
No.
yesterday. But anyway, there's, I don't know if it's 10 spots. It hasn't been lined yet that I saw, but there are some more parking area, 2-hour type of area there that could be for event parking or for trail parking,
Yeah.
so.
in part of the consideration, particularly for this boat, this passenger boat, it seats 320. So part of the design that we're looking at is to bring in motor coach buses that can drop off folks that, again, that parking garage. Check it out sometime. There's probably no more than 20 cars at any given time. The mayor's right. It's a short walking distance, but for those that don't have the ability or just don't feel comfortable, that'll probably be part of the boat operation is shuttling people back and forth.
And
So-
that particular parking garage is probably more ADA accessible than any other ones that we have, to be quite truthful. So this just is a very hopeful, very invigorating kind of thing. I can't tell you the enthusiasm I have for this and what my expectations are should this happen, what the benefits would be for the whole community. Any questions? Concerns?
Yeah.
Problems?
No, I think it sounds great. I've always wondered why, when you look at the topography, you understand it. We have a beautiful river and an opportunity for recreation that we aren't able to avail ourselves of. And if we could just expand on that, I mean, even those little kayak things in the water,
Well,
it's very attractive.
There's a pent-up demand for that.
Yeah.
There's so much possibility, so many things happening. We were approached by Decker's Creek, the people there, they want to clean up the Richard's Mine. Part of what they're suggesting is that in doing so that we could make this fishing and kayak accessible. They're predicting somewhere in the neighborhood of what, $14 million benefit in terms of economic value. Having had that done.
Orange.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the potential there for the waterfront is, I'm talking to other mayors and having gone through this and seeing similar problems in other locations. Some of them are very envious of our situation, but some of them who have taken advantage of what they have in terms of a riverfront has said, yeah, that's the way to go. You know, by all means, go in that direction. It's been more of a positive thing than I've experienced in the past 5 years.
More hopeful, maybe.
Yeah, I agree.
There you go. So, well, thank you again for the opportunity. And at the same time, you know, again, just circling back to the discussion about the buses, you know, we're not going to lose sight of that. And so this is part of the conversation and keeping the stakeholders apprised and making sure that people are comfortable with the decisions that are made and really looking to Mountain Line, using their leadership and guidance, but along the way that the city has to help in coming up with a good permanent solution. So again, thank you. Let it continue back on the agenda.
Moving on to the lodging tax collection. Who's here to touch on that?
It was supposed to be Susan. I don't know. I know she was supposed to speak on it. I mean, all I can tell you is that I know she had met with all the different cities, and she's hoping that each city can uniform the procedures, because what she found out was when she was doing the discussions, she found out that the county was not the only government agency that was having trouble with the hotels that are not paying their taxes, and then they were calling to find out what can they do. So we're hoping that we're able to uniform this so the cities and counties do the same thing, so that we have even recommended to consider contacting not the general managers but the owners of the hotels to say to set up a procedure, and that's where we're at, and hopefully we can uniform that. But we are having some problems with a number of the hotels that seem to be forgetting to pay or not paying on time. And it affects everything, because that's the CVB and it's also the taxes for you all. So hopefully we can resolve that issue. So that I know, but she had some more specifics, I don't know. But I know that was generally what she was going to discuss.
I wonder about the Airbnb stuff, the bed and breakfast, is that being tackled at this time, or is that?
It is being looked at there. One of the areas, for example, we were looking at that I think affects us is that over in Preston County, they have the new National Guard Armory, and it's being used not only for National Guard, but they are now selling it to say, come here and you can stay there and not pay any of the taxes, and it's hurting the Preston County and Mon County. So we're looking at things like that. So we're trying to look at a bigger issue. The Airbnb, clearly, one of the things that has happened though is that we have found several of the Airbnbs that are in communities. I'll use Ashton Estates as an example. And what we're now doing is we're going after them as an assessor because they're not a single-family dwelling, but they are now going to be taxed as a business. And so once they advertise it, and that's going to be more funds for everyone in the long run. So we're looking at that and taking steps to look at that. Yes, it's going to be tackled. I think we're trying to get this hotel situation under wraps and get everyone working together in uniform, and then that'll be the next step.
Are they supposed to have some sort of business license?
Excuse me?
An Airbnb, are they supposed to have some sort of business license?
The Airbnb does because they have that uniform, but then there's the other type of B&B that doesn't use the Airbnb. There's two different types, and they are not regulated at all. The Airbnb, you pay that company, the Airbnb, they collect the taxes and then send it to us. And that's what they're doing in other places. So that is what we're working to do. But it's amazing
So that's
how
one
many
of the-
places, and most of them are in Morgantown.
Yes.
There's like 80, 90 spots, and that's extra money that would be coming to you all.
And so then the other company doesn't collect the taxes?
No, it's done individually.
Like a rental by owner
Yes.
kind of thing. They do it for themselves, so they're bypassing all of that.
Yeah, for themselves.
Right.
Yes.
So it's a little harder.
Right, so but that's why Airbnb will be easier to go for, because they're willing, Airbnb, to work with us. But we have to get that all clarified too with the state.
State code.
This is the beginning of
stake
the mess, isn't it?
Yes, it was an area in the state code that they did not know, ever perceive was gonna happen.
Homeowners associations not wanting rentals in their, the South Park not wanting hotels in their,
Yeah, we don't even
Exactly.
allow bed and breakfast in South Park. So.
No, and that's what we
But
have
you
over in
know-
Ashton Estates. We have a half a dozen houses that we found on the register, and that's what we turned into the assessor's office.
But just for taxes, not for some other, for
Tom,
taxes.
do you know who these rentals
Yeah, we
are?
can't, because there is no such thing yet as that. We're trying to get for it. I'm sorry, what?
Bill's ready to.
Do you know who these rentals are?
Oh, yeah.
So you have a list of rentals?
Well,
Well,
just
I mean,
look
if you go on
online.
Airbnb and
That's-
search Morgantown, obviously you can find
No,
it that way.
but
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to be a problem with Airbnb. It seems to be a problem with the individual, because you're going to get the money from them, right?
well, hopefully, the state still, it's an area that they're trying to figure out how to, doesn't meet the criteria, even though it does, but
That becomes a county assessor problem too.
Well, I know our chief tax deputy, Kelly Palmer, she's been working on that as well.
yeah.
So does it violate, say, the covenants in, do you have?
Oh, yeah, there's covenants in those areas,
Like
and
in
that's,
Ashton Estates? Can that
Yes.
happen in Ashton's Estates?
no, but it is.
Okay. Yeah, we don't get
You're
to,
asking
we don't
for
need to get any
individuals.
further.
Yeah,
Ashton
individuals is different, yeah.
No, we do not have a list of those
No.
that I know of.
Well, what do we need to do?
Probably through the state, the business license for the Airbnb.
Yeah, but if you're doing it as,
Yeah.
if I had a room
No,
in my house
But
that
the
I'm
thing is, they
renting
have to
out,
advertise somewhere. It's just
Mm,
basically
there-
billing,
yeah.
it's
It
basically
would really be an
diligence to pick it up,
investigation.
you know?
Yeah. It might be worth hiring someone or maybe
If you
two
pick
going
it up,
out and
what
getting
can
that.
you do?
If it's picked up, then we can look at it. It depends on what the state does, I guess, right now with
Right.
everything.
Because it's
If
whether,
if it's already prohibited, in the area, then your code would have something to say about it. all
see,
right?
there's a difference between a room or a house, and each of those are different. We have some people giving just a room. We have others doing a house. We're having some that are doing it for several weeks. And that seems to be all these different areas. So that's where the assessors are working on that, and Kelly is working on that.
Sounds like a good one.
Yeah,
Sounds like one that needs to get rolling.
exactly.
So, we got 17 minutes left. Somebody else, does the county commission have anything to fill us in on? Surely.
Well, why don't you talk about tomorrow?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's worth
I
considering.
think it's worth it. We have a meeting in work session tomorrow that we're looking at the possibility of moving our extension office. If you're familiar with where the barn structure is at Mylan Park, we have plans to possibly add on to and make an area for the extension office. We're paying rent in Westover. So we're looking at what money we have that we normally pay in rent, but we've also got an agricultural, Kent Leonhardt is in charge of state agriculture, and he's extremely interested in having visibility with an office. And so we created office space within this. That I got a phone call today from the state that all they want next is what's the price and what's the real design going to be. So this could be very exciting. I invited Dr. Devano to also come, because the part of the area is going to be an enclosure that we could use for educational purposes, even though it's a barn. Some of the area is going to be enclosed to be heated and, in climate controlled. So there you could start to offer programming that you couldn't offer in other places. Now, where the high tunnel ends up in Mylan Park could be a factor in it. Well, I mean, it's all.
We're not coming back
We're
there.
glad I didn't already move it.
I understand, but no, what I'm saying is that
It's a component of it.
personal conversation with Mr. Leonhardt is that he's firmly convinced that children that are involved with agriculture, 4-H, FFA, are less vulnerable to some of the problems that the other children have. And so a greater exposure might be helpful in terms of the educational process. And when you have somebody at the state level who already believes this, then you don't have to sell it as hard. So when you look at what the high tunnel may present, if it's located close to this structure, you may have the veterans and children working in concert in learning process, because it's got a lot of, there's a lot of potential here that could be explored in this structure. And we'll have a presentation. Anybody, it's an open meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Should you wish to attend for the presentation of the committee that's been working diligently on this on the past few months. It's just garnered more steam in that when we found out that that Commissioner Leonhardt wants to have visibility. There's also the provision for the possibility of a West Virginia store on in the same area. So you're looking at something that makes Mylan Park even more desirable than what it is. Really, there's a lot of great things that's going on at Mylan Park. This just creates another avenue that that we can all look at. So. And again, at 1 o'clock tomorrow, Commission Chambers, if anybody's interested in attending.
The only other issue would be that I think we all, as a group, need to be very careful, watch the legislature with this Senate Bill 8. This is the one that we're very concerned about. Renetta just went to a meeting today, and we've been informed that there's a lot of movement to do away with the personal property tax of business, which is probably $5 million that would affect our county and possibly triple that for the school system. And we're very concerned when the State County Commission Association asked, well, how are we going to make that up? And the state nicely said, well, we're looking a way of cutting taxes. That's for you all to figure out. So in a way, they are cutting
all those powers.
Well, they're cutting all the state. I mean, so it looks like the state's cutting, but it's actually local fees, and we're very, very worried. And there's so much movement and direction, and there seems to be a lot of movement towards consolidation, whether it be tourism, CVB, whether it's going to be that economic group that the RISA, not the RISAs, but that
Region 6.
Region 6 are now talking about consolidating that. So what we're real concerned about, this legislature could have a major effect for Mon County and not in a real positive way. And I think we need to monitor and watch that very carefully, because as badly as it's going to hit the county, it will be 3 times as bad for the school system
We could lose up to $5.5 million
a year.
in taxes. I'm talking about all of us collectively. We could lose that
Yeah.
much money, and that's really not good.
And they're gonna give us plenty of time to plan for that, right?
Oh, sure.
And not only that, they're going to mandate us, since we're like 12.2, is it, we would have to go to the maximum. And then they also are going to put a limit so that where you're at, you're not going to get as much money. We're not going to get as much money, but the state's going to get 10%.
What he just said is that we would have to raise your property taxes.
3 times
Okay.
the amount.
That's what they're.
No, the
they're
county.
doing.
That is what they're saying.
But
There's-
the
yeah.
problem is
So
that
it blames
there's
it on the
so many,
county.
there's probably 25 counties that are maxed out right now.
Yeah.
They cannot raise their property
Which means
taxes.
it-
They are full millage. So, and some of these are in very bad shape, and some of them are very large. We'll take Kanawha, we'll take Cabell, other counties like
They're
this.
right on the edge.
There's not, no, they're at max.
They're at
ceiling.
max. They can't get any
They're
more.
at max. They can't raise theirs. We could raise the property taxes in Monongalia County. We're 53 or 54 out
Right.
of 55 counties. Now, we're middle of the road, right around number 30, I think, when you calculate what the voters have given us. In other words, with the school levy and the other levies, this of course adds to the property taxes, but that's not, I mean, that's revenue for the school system, that's revenue
Right.
for, for what the levy systems were. But we have the ability, at least, I hate to say it, make it up, but it throws all the burden on to those individuals, again,
Who owns the property, yeah.
who bear a great share of the burden right now.
And they're also talking about, instead of the assessed value being 60% of your appraised value, we would have the ability to raise it to the full 100%, which, I mean, what county commission would want to do that to their citizens? So, I mean,
And it's pushing, basically, there'll be about 10 or 15 counties that can't do it, so it's going to be forced consolidation, which is what, the state has been wanting to consolidate, but it would just force these counties to do it,
For
and,
economic reasons.
yes,
Yes.
yes, and not maybe in the best
For the
interest.
county, like the county.
Yeah, we would not be forced to sell it, but,
it would bankrupt a county like Doddridge, for instance, where
Right.
they have nothing but oil and gas.
Right.
Which is almost all personal property. It would bankrupt them. So counties such as that
Or
have no
counties that are
other.
already bankrupt, such as Webster. They're $1.3 billion in arrear just on their regional jail right now. So, and the state says pay it. That was their solution, pay it.
yep.
So,
So it's something we just need to be very careful of and watch.
Yeah, and the key thing is we just need to pay attention to this, because
Right.
they're looking at it from the state level, the macro level. If you take away property tax, but you allow the assessed value to go to 100, they see it as a wash, but they don't see the individual counties, and just like the example with Doddridge, who is higher in on the property tax than it is on the real estate, how it's gonna affect them. So,
Well, and then they look good because they've
Exactly.
been given a tax cut, and local government doesn't look good because they have to raise.
And then the
the
school
idea
system and
is
the
that
county are
next-
going to be penalized because we're going to have to raise to maintain what we have. That's
Unless they can give us some other mechanism,
which they haven't figured out
and they
yet.
haven't,
Which would have to be an increase of some kind to somebody.
Or like a
Yes.
1% sales tax or something for counties or something to offset it. They don't want to do that. But that's something that we need to watch, yeah, very carefully.
It takes us back to A. We've
Yeah.
grown 1,151 students in the
Right.
last 5 years, so we
Yeah.
don't really want to cut right now.
Exactly.
It's the school system. That'd be tough.
Yeah.
WVU, anything?
Need to get a football win this weekend.
So you've been working on that this year?
My department. So, no, everything's good. We're on schedule with all of our projects. Enrollment's held well, so it's been a good semester. On the aquatics track has come along really well. We met on site today with construction, and BOY is going to do a little story on it, but it's, I'll use March Weston's words, it's running ahead of schedule. So we just hope that we still continue to meet the schedule of September 1 open, but everything is, you can see block going up now. It's pretty exciting to get to see the project and how big it is, but it's all going well.
Why don't you announce about Mylan Park dinner tomorrow?
Oh, tomorrow
yeah.
night, yeah, the Mylan Park dinner, 6 o'clock at Mylan Park, anyone's welcome. So just let me know if you'd like to attend. It should be really nice. We're going to do an Olympic theme, have some of our past Olympians back, and talk just kind of what their experience was like, and have the audience and ask questions as far as everything from do you like staying in the Olympic Village to some of our Olympians got caught up in the whole issue of bringing dogs home, and what does that all mean? And some don't want to stay in the village, so just anything. So it's kind of a behind the scenes, if you will. What don't we get to see on television? What's it really like, and that sort of thing. So.
Patty, anything? You gotta have something for us.
We don't have anything, no. Business as usual.
That's a lot of times a good thing. We take that in the day-to-day, business as usual. So if no one else has anything.
I've been up buying things in Granville.
Yay.
Oh.
It's very convenient to
Any announcements on the west
Star
end of
City
the
side of
interstate?
town.
West side of the
Any
interstate?
announcements on the west end of the interstate? Any businesses, announcements coming?
No, they're telling us the spring. They're saying that they're going to announce it in the spring, but
Who's the they?
The developer.
yeah,
Okay.
Lynch's.
I do have a meeting scheduled with Ryan and his legal representation on Friday, but it's not for that. It's
About the
just-
roads.
It's more or less for the roads.
When will the infrastructure be done, do we know?
Well, that's, trying to nail somebody down to an exact time. Obviously, we commission WVU and other interested parties, particularly for the aquatic center, look to a 3-year parameter on this that we hope everybody will
Connect
look.
the west side.
Yeah, the road, obviously the road being finished to Mylan Park is of importance to all of us. Because, and this aquatic center, in other words, the proper road, not the road that exists right now. So this will be emphasized greatly in my meeting on Friday.
I'd like to invite at the next meeting, somebody with the MPO, maybe Bill Austin or somebody, so we can get in front of all the development of the roads that are going to be put in, maybe starting in the spring, maybe see where we are up to that point with what plans and development we have to look to, maybe give us an idea. We'll need to know what's going on just for our bus schedules, so we make sure that we're okay, that we don't have too much interference in relationship to that. I'll need to teach our bus drivers how to drive around orange cones, I'm sure, a good bit, because if that construction comes in as much as everybody says it is. So as a suggestion, next meeting, maybe we can have that, somebody from that
Yeah, I'll
department.
get him, because I think, Tom, some of you are on all the commissioners, and Jenny and Patty, I think we meet on the 16th, right? And I was with Bill today in another Beach Her Study meeting that Jenny and I were in, and I know he's got an update for MPO on that time, so it'd be good to get everyone in the loop. It's kind of moving fast and furious as we understand right now. So, and one of the good things that Commissioner Hawkins was talking about, the Mylan Park Road, the interchange out there was in that. That was a $40 million project, so that was in the bond. So the link is there to go on to meet where the developer would pick up from that point. So that's great news. But yeah, we get Bill here to do an update.
One thing I keep I'm going to get on my stump, I guess, since I'm leading this meeting. The one thing I want to do is to try to continue to work towards, and I've harped with Sean consistently about this, a set aside for the school system in this development. And the reason I'm looking at it's not something I figure any of us will still be in power when it happens, but I hope 20, 30 years from now, they look back and say, you know what, the leadership, when they were doing all this development out here, when you go North Baltimore, it's one place I see it, is you'll have new building, residential, commercial, set aside for a park, set aside for a school system. Then you have the same thing over and over again. It really, before the school system ends up trying to buy 60 or 80 acres of property 20 years from now, it'd be nice if we could start working, and as the developers continue to expand, that we start talking about getting a set aside for the school system, for county parks, for whatever it's going to become. It's going to be city out there eventually. There eventually will be some kind of eventually to rival Morgantown, I would guess, would be what we're going to see out there.
Yeah, perfect
That's
example
the
is,
view.
look at all the development on the West Ridge side. 10, 15 years ago, when they first start talking about that, when the property value was $1,000 an acre, maybe? And you say, hey, we need to set aside 40 acres. It's a lot easier to do now than when it's $400,000 an acre. I mean, it ain't ever gonna happen.
Yeah, the way that my analysis of this, and if you hand someone a pot of gold, and this is future developers, current developers, whoever, if you hand someone a pot of gold And then after they have that pot of gold, you ask them to give you a handful back out. They're not going to do it. But if you have the pot of gold and you're saying up front, if you give me a handful, I'll give you the rest. That's what I'm looking at. I mean, it's really where we need to, as a community, step and say, and I'm going to continue to push for this. We need a set aside so that the county school system isn't strapped with a $20-30 million investment down the road to serve the kids. I mean, it won't be long, and it'll be 60-70 acres out there. It'll be that much money. So we're not looking for right along the interstate. We might be 3-4 miles back as they extend. Maybe working into one of these deals where we can figure out something so we don't have to. I won't be on the school board. I assume that our other leadership on the school board will be totally gone. Everyone in here probably won't be around. But it's one of those things where hopefully one day we look back. And we did the same thing over in Brookhaven. We grabbed some property that was available, and it's just for future development. It's for potential. No plan at this point, but hopefully one day they'll say, that was a great place. We're glad we have that property for whatever it's going to be. So I really think I'm going to continue to push on that, and I hope the three commissioners, because you guys really hold the power in this, would side with me on that and continue to help that.
One quick point before we're done, going back to roads. Ed, would you mind telling them that statistic you quoted today about the shortfall at the DOH?
Sadly, I had a meeting on, I believe, Monday or Tuesday, and they are 19 workers short right now. No offense, but the
Our
city,
local,
In our region.
yes, the city of Morgantown hired their last 4 out of their last 6
Oh, good.
hires away. And I'm not blaming you. But no, I mean, it's just basically competitive wages.
they need to change their
Man, is it
scale.
nice in the city then?
Right.
I understand, but they're bound.
And I know
by-
that that's not your responsibility.
That's not my, but they are 19 workers down right now going into the winter season, and this could affect us greatly, in this area, just with snow removal.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not their fault. They're hoping with this job fair that they might be able to pick
Right.
up a few
Get a
more.
job fair.
They've been running full-page ads.
Yes.
And the last time I heard that Donnie give that speech, they were only 11 down. So
I know.
They're
It's
going
Yeah.
even further.
And delegates,
Guess that means you guys
There's
picked
only
up.
1 inch out there.
Yeah.
Don't blame me.
That's right, because it hasn't been clear.
Delegate Statler mentioned that 2 meetings ago. I mean, we as a group have to try to think of creative solutions. If we can't hire the people, maybe there are other options that we can utilize.
Well, I mean, if you just hire a few fewer guys and women or whatever,
Can't pay them more.
and
that's
pay
the
them a
problem.
little more.
But you
We're
can't.
having the same exact discussion at Boat Park. If you're $1 or $2 under everybody else, then everybody else is gonna hire your staff away. And if you pay just that little bit more, then you can get some decent staff, so.
But you already paid to train them for someone
with-
else is what you end up
For
doing.
someone else,
With the
yeah.
bond issue,
Subsidize it
there
for
was
someone
Yeah,
talk
they'll,
of-
they'll
happens.
just do it for a little while and then they'll shift over, like you said.
I mean, it's gonna take time. With the bond issue, there was talk, now that you have the bonds, then the regular money could be freed up for some of those raises and things, but they just need to move on it.
Okay, well, we started a couple minutes late, and we're going to end a couple minutes late. It's our hour, and I thank you guys for coming. We need to talk about the next meeting and who's going to host.